Well, I've been thinking about what I want to share with you today for a week. Maybe it's actually been weeks or a year. Actually, I think maybe it's been decades that I've been thinking about what I want to share today. As you'll see, as we walk through this, it's been something that's been kind of bugging me, or something that's been high on my mind for a very, very, very long time. Maybe you'll find that something that I say in here is worthy of sharing. Maybe you'll want to share it on social media. Maybe you'll want to let other people know about this. Maybe you'll want to let other people know about the channel. But anyway, maybe not. Maybe you'll just think it's a kind of an okay thing, and you could make some comments and add to what I'm saying here. There's going to be 4 parts. I think 3 of those will be today and 1 tomorrow, but it might end up being different than that. I've only written the first part here that I'm going to share with you now. The other 3 parts still need to be written, and so we'll see how that all plays out, depending on news and other things that might get in the way. But over the course of today and tomorrow, maybe stretching into Tuesday, we will get through my thinking here. Let me start with this from Mario Nawful today. Elon unveils blind sight to restore vision for the blind. Neurolink just announced blind sight, a new brain implant designed to restore sight in people who are completely blind. The device bypasses damaged eyes completely, entirely, sending visual data straight to the brain. Elon says the tech will go far beyond what is possible with biological eyes. So, in other words, being able to see another spectrum, etc. Neuralink will attempt its first human implant of blind sight later this year. A brain chip designed to restore sight to those who are completely blind. Elon said the device will start with low resolution vision, but could eventually provide capabilities that are quite superhuman. This follows Neuralink's earlier telepathy chip aimed at helping paralyzed patients control devices with their mind, including eventually their limbs. If successful, blind sight could mark one of the most radical leaps in medical and neural tech, turning the science fiction of vision restoration into a clinical reality. Then there's this, in a groundbreaking milestone. Researchers at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the University of Pennsylvania used CRISPR to deliver the world's first personalized gene editing therapy to an infant. KJ Muldoon gave him a rare urea cycle. He had a rare urea cycle disorder. Developed in just 6 months, the therapy corrected a unique genetic mutation, enabling KJ's liver to process ammonia effectively. Published in the Published in the New England Journal of Medicine, this achievement presented at the 2025 ASGCT meeting marks a new era for precision medicine. It offers hope for tailored treatments for rare genetic diseases, potentially transforming lives with unprecedented speed and accuracy. Coming up on May 27th, the 9th flight test of Starship is preparing to launch. The launch window will be open at 6:30 Central Time on Tuesday. Might take later, we never know. The upcoming flight test marks the first launch of a flight-proven super heavy booster. So they'll be reusing a super heavy booster, which previously launched and returned on Starship's 7th flight test. In addition to the reuse milestone, Super Heavy will fly a variety of experiments aimed at generating data to improve performance and reliability on future boosters. The Starship's upper stage will repeat its suborbital trajectory and target objectives not reached on the previous 2 flight tests, including the first payload deployment from Starship and multiple re-entry experiments geared towards returning the vehicle to the launch site for catch. It won't be doing that. It won't be sending the Starship back to the launch site for a catch. It'll be experimenting with methods that will, in the future, maybe even on Starship 10, provide that result. So this is a pretty major trip for Starship 9, which, of course, is going to completely revolutionize space in the same way that the Falcon has revolutionized it up to this point and caused SpaceX to be dominating in the space industry, and Starlink to be taking over the world. Anyway, obviously, it says here, we are on the very cusp of the long wait for Robotaxi. Cathie Wood reiterated her expectations that the total market cap for ride hail will reach $14 trillion out of a total personal transportation TAM of 27 trillion. She believes Tesla will get about half of that ride hail business at a 7 trillion market cap. This does not include the truck hauling business, the autonomous truck hauling business, which Semi will completely dominate starting in 2026, assuming, of course, that we do get the autonomous part. We're going to get trucks. I think we're going to get the autonomy too, but we'll see what happens there. This next, autonomous, autonomous, I got autonomous on the head. Optimus made major news this week with new videos that showed the Gen 2 version of Optimus able to replicate human actions from watching human actions. And the expectation is this will eventually be possible from watching videos, maybe like now, maybe soon. Has been seen by Robotaxi. That's what we're seeing with Robotaxi, the ability to have it view, if you will, a YouTube video and then be able to learn or be able to be trained by that YouTube video. So Optimus is going to follow suit. We're getting all of this new approach of sim to real. All of this is going to make it according to Tesla, is going to make it super much faster to be able to train Optimus and get them ready for action in factories and in distribution centers and in other workplaces, as well as eventually in your home. They also, in this particular time, we saw that Optimus is now operating about the same as the movements are getting much more human and the speeds are getting much more human. Well, then we got updates from Elon and others, including Scott Walters, that 2025 will see something over 1,000 Optimus being produced, and there will be several other companies probably making on the order of 1,000 humanoids. Then next year, and this year it could be as many as 5,000, according to Elon, but he seems to have backed away from that a little. And then 2026 should see 10,000 to 50,000 Optimus humanoids built, and other companies are also looking at maybe around the 10,000 level. I don't think anybody else is talking 50,000. 2027 could see 100,000 to a million of these little guys made and deployed. So we're moving towards this. And Scott Walter, his most recent estimate, based on what he's seeing, is that we could be looking at that billion a year number by 2035 at this point. Well, the world this last week seemed to converge on the energy issue, with Trump putting nuclear on the top burner, calling for a complete restructure of the NRC and requiring approvals to be generated within 18 months of application. Now, this is going to be huge for the big nuclear reactors, but what it's really going to do, it should really give a big boost to the SMRs, the small modular reactors. Take into consideration that China is already making small modular reactors. We are behind them on small modular reactors now, but we have about, I think some people feel it's as many as 10 companies in the United States that are ready to go or in some phases, in some direction of getting to making these things in the factory, which would be a huge breakthrough and allow us to have on-site applications for these modular reactors, where they would be right there where the factory is. So anyway, this is huge breakthrough in the energy space for Trump to get the regulations out of the way, get the NRC out of the way, and get us back on track, again, because we're way behind China on this. Now, multiple podcasts spoke about the insatiable demand for energy, that they talked about the fact that energy equals wealth over and over and over again. This has now become a mantra that you didn't hear a year ago, but I've been talking about it since I was late teen or early 20s about energy and wealth being equivalents. I tried to develop a monetary system based on energy in a paper that I did in I think it was in early college. The race with China is also huge on everybody's mind right now with regard to energy, as China is sitting on over close to 3 terawatts of energy production right now, where the United States is about 1.3, and China is seeking to get to 9 terawatts, where the United States right now is only looking at getting to 2. Elon Musk, of course, mentioned about a week ago that he wants to produce 1 terawatt himself. So if the United States wants to add a terawatt, Elon wants to add a terawatt, and then the United States has 1.3, at least we would be keeping up on a per capita basis with China on their efforts to get to 9. Elon also said that we may run out of energy by the middle of 2026. And this could be for any of a number of reasons, including raw materials. It could be due to not be able to get permits in time, not be able to build facilities as fast as we need. It could be transformers. It could be utilities not being able to work fast enough with companies in order to get things deployed. There's transmission line issues. There's so many issues that are making it difficult to get to these numbers. But what I'm hearing more and more about, what we've talked about on the channel, what Brian Wang, Brian White, and all of us have talked about, is this idea of setting up these AI centers right on the energy field, putting it right where the gas is, putting it right where the thermal potential is. Some people have already been putting it right where the nuclear reactors already are putting it right where where you have existing dams. So there's lots and lots of ways to do this, but eliminating the transmission lines, and in some cases with solar, I heard a review yesterday was talking about the fact that maybe using solar, which is already created in DC, you wouldn't have to change it to AC and then back to DC in order to transmit it and then get it to into the data centers. So this solar could be a real answer in this whole thing. But what is the answer overall? Lots and lots of megapacks. Tesla would seem to be poised to take advantage of this energy deficit through existing products, especially megapacks and solar. Elon talked about the fact that every existing power plant in the United States could double its effectiveness through the use of megapacks. I kept hearing about this on all of these different podcasts that I've been listening to, is that you need, by bringing in the megapacks, okay, these AI data centers have peak uses and then they completely stop. And then they peak use and then they stop. It's not a smooth amount of energy that they're using. Well, when you've got those kind of peaks, that's not very good for any kind of power use, unless you have something to smooth that, and that would be the batteries. So I think I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that Tesla has to add even more of this megapack production than they've already told us about. With the 2 facilities in the United States and 1 in China, I think they will be building more soon. Of course, I believe that for a few years now, but now it seems like maybe, according to some resources that we're hearing from, maybe the order book is super, super, super full, and it might be time where the deployment can equal the amount of need that there is out there. I mean, there might even be more need for deployment of the megapacks than there is there may be more demand than there is supply. All right, Elon, I also think that Elon might do something with regard to solar, and this solar could be earthbound. It's really hard to compete with the Chinese here, but now there's tariffs on the Chinese solar panels and whatnot. Maybe there could be some opportunity for Tesla to utilize its knowledge and its abilities and its supply chains and whatnot to start doing massive solar deployments in the United States. I think it's more likely that maybe we would have some kind of a space-based solar approach, which Brian Wang has been talking about on my channel for over a year. And this would be an obvious thing for Tesla to do because of their ability to put things into space inexpensively, their understanding of solar, their understanding of energy, their ability to use it for their own factories, for their own facilities. I mean, everything about it would suggest that Elon should be looking at this space-based application, potentially, though, an Earth-based application as well. Now, data centers, of course, is what everybody's talking about. It's the biggest tech headline of all right now, with 4 U.S. companies attempting to scale their data centers faster than their competitions in hopes of being the first to reach general AI, which many believe will happen in the next 4 years. Well, of course, Elon, through X and Tesla, controls by far the most compute at this point, and the plans for both companies include massive additional deployment that should keep them in the lead permanently. So we've got Memphis, and we've got the Gigafactory in Austin, both with these gigantic computers, and of course Tesla producing their own chips, as well as making plans for 1 million of these little chips up in Memphis. Nobody's even got 1 million on their drawing board at this point in terms of deployment. All right, then there's the idea of a merger that came up this last week, a merger between Tesla and X. So X has just merged with xAI. That was a huge deal. And now all of a sudden somebody says, well, what about Tesla and X merging? This was in an interview the other day. And Elon says, well, it's not on the table right now, but the Tesla stockholders would have to approve that. Well, that would be a massive decision, and absolutely untold potential at this point. After you get the content creation from Twitter or X, you get the massive data center on the LLM side from xAI, and then you get the massive capabilities of Dojo, and the data center in Texas, combined with the use cases. It's just like you put it all together. That's pretty good verticality, if you ask me. Anyway, tons of meetings took place this last week, and they were basically focused on two things: data centers and energy. This is the number one thing right now. Over and over, we're told the U.S. must win both of these races. There's no good outcome if we don't. But then the Middle East, China says, well, they want to be number one in both energy and data centers. And believe me, they've got a lead on the energy side, not necessarily obviously not on the data center side. And then the Middle East is saying, no, we want to be number two, not China. And so we want to start building huge data centers here. And by the way, we have a little bit of energy going on. So we'll see what happens in that race between these three countries. But where does that leave the rest of the world? And in watching the Peter Diamandis show just a little while ago, they were talking about every single country in the world should be, and many are beginning to get it right now, they should all be in the business of having their own fabs, as the United States is building fabs right now. They were saying, hey, probably 100 countries out there should be building their own fabs. They should be building their own chip manufacturing facilities to compete with NVIDIA in a way. I mean, not really compete, but they should have their own domestic supply of these things, or they're going to be left way behind. Well, to add to all of that, this is all in just 2 weeks, okay? A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we've been hearing all this stuff. The disruption of the disruptors has now started this last week, with tons of speculation around the fact that Johnny Ives and his company I/O are being purchased by Sam Altman. Now, this would seem like to be a major coup for Sam, and a major poke in the eye to both Apple and Google, who both seemingly lose, to the extent that if Johnny Ives is bringing something of importance to Google, to OpenAI, this would be bad for both of those companies. Now, the word on the street is that there's a product involved, and it might be some kind of a pendant that you wear around your neck. And people say, well, we got used to the idea of people putting these buds in their ears. Maybe we can get used to the ideas of people wearing this giant pendant around their neck. I don't know. We'll see. Well, this would be your new iPhone. This will replace your iPhone. Well, Jeff Lutz, actually, just before this announcement, Jeff Lutz said the other day, Apple shouldn't be looking for a way to build iPhones in the United States per the fight that Apple's in right now with the president. They shouldn't be looking at a way to just move that production over here. They should be looking at what is the next product that will replace the iPhone. That's what they should build in the United States. And then, of course, these announcements were made with regard to Ives and with regard to this pendant possibility. All right, then Google and OpenAI both added tremendous new capabilities to their stacks, including a Google package that would require $250 per month subscription and includes a new AI version of search. Now, you can do this AI version of search. I don't know if you can or I can, but some people right now can use this new AI version of the Google search engine. It kind of reminds me of what you have now on Chrome. where you can, ask it for an AI version of search. So Google now is going to be offering that as well. Their stock, I think, actually went down as a result of them coming out with this, because people are worried that it won't be as easy to monetize as the stack that, or as the view that we have right now is monetizable. I'm not sure whether that's true or not, but Google has had to take this risk because at this point they're going to fall behind if they don't. So it's a huge step, but it has all kinds of possible alternative universes going forward. It could disrupt everything to the extent that Google has a AI version. Well, then you got Grok starting with an AI version, which may want to have a search version. You've got all the rest of them looking at ways to undermine search on Google. It's all different ways, and it's really hard to know how all this is going to pan out, but guaranteed it's going to be exciting and fun. So now you should also look for hundreds of products, and not 10, not 50, not 100, hundreds, maybe thousands of products over the next few months that are going to take advantage of reasoning and memory on your LLM. Almost, I think all the major LLMs now offer reasoning and memory. I've been using the reasoning for weeks and weeks and weeks on Grok. Now we've got memory on Grok. I'm starting to use the memory on Grok. The vast majority of people don't even know the memory's there. They probably haven't even used the reasoning yet. This is game changing. It's just completely game changing because you can now set up your own kind of managed systems, if you will, for doing the jobs that you're doing without even getting into fancy agents. You can just kind of create your own agency and say, hey, Grok, I want you to do this. And by the way, do it every morning. We'll see how that all works out. I haven't tried it yet. Anyway, these are massive critical changes. And the consequences are, you're just going to see lots and lots of product. So many products, it's so hard to keep up. Look for more than 100. Look for more than thousands of agents that will make your life and your job easier than it is now. Many many are saying now that white collar jobs are over by 2029. I don't agree. I do think there will be many white collar jobs eliminated. I think there'll be many clerical jobs eliminated. I think there'll be many customer service jobs eliminated, driver jobs, etc. I think there's going to be a lot of jobs eliminated, but I don't think that it's going to be as comprehensive. This elimination won't be as crazy as some people think it's going to be. It'll be 10 years, 15 years, not 5 years. Okay. And you'll see it because I was saying the other day, I have a client who just updated their basic computer system for their retail store for the first time in 20 years this year. This is the norm for small businesses, under 50 employees, under 20 employees, even many companies out there that are under 3 employees. They're not going to be part of this revolution. They are barely catching up with the past revolution. I used to, when I was selling, looking for new clients, I was always talk about the fact that this is like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, over 50% of small businesses had no internet presence at all. So this is how long it takes for people to really get involved. Anyway, there'll be jobs eliminated, no doubt about that. I think there'll be brand new jobs that'll be created, and the smart folks will figure out how to take advantage of the new dynamics. Okay, so the concept of technological acceleration leading to overwhelming change and anxiety. This is what I'm really talking about here. The technological acceleration right now is going to lead to overwhelming change and anxiety that may be caused by this overwhelming change. People can't keep up with this. I'm working at it full time. You might be spending a lot of time. I don't know how much time you're spending on it, but I can't keep up. There's no way I can keep up. Every day I'm scrolling through and I'm going, oh, I should go back and look at that video. Oh, I should go back and look at that video about how to do this particular thing, how to make a better image, or how to search better, how to prompt better, how to set up apps. I mean, I could never have set up an app a year ago. Right now, apparently, it's really easy to set up an app, but who has time to go back and even watch the video to learn how to do the app? And this is what I'm talking. So there's this idea that there will be the technological acceleration is just going to keep, it's just going to go even faster and faster and faster. And many of us, even at the top of this learning experiment, people that are really into it and know it and understand it backwards and forwards and inside out are still going to be overwhelmed by the change. Now, Alvin Toffler first mentioned this idea in his 1970 book, Future Shock. He argued that the rapid change of technological and social change could outstrip humans' ability to adapt, causing disorientation and stress. He described this as future shock, a psychological state resulting from too much change in too short of a period of time. Earlier thinkers like Henry Adams in 1904, that was not an earlier thinker, that would have been after, 1904, yeah. Well, discussed a law of acceleration in technological progress. But Toffler was the first to explicitly link exponential technological advancement to widespread societal anxiety. And I think we're already seeing this. So the good news is that we're headed into an age of abundance, and that the poorest of the poor are likely to feel that impact in a profound way. On May 11th, just 13 days ago, Elon Musk posted on X, by enabling high-speed, low latency, and affordable internet globally, Starlink will do more to educate and lift people out of poverty than any NGO ever. No, he didn't go far enough. Than anything ever. So the internet did it for about 4 billion people eventually, but now he's talking about bringing it to the other 4 billion that don't have that access. He emphasized that without internet access, children and poor, isolated children, adults in poor, rural areas lack educational opportunities beyond limited schooling, leaving them stuck. Musk highlighted Starlink's potential to provide global connectivity, enabling economic and educational opportunities in remote regions, with studies showing significant poverty reduction linked to broadband access. Now, if you add energy to that equation, so if you become educated and you now bring energy and good water to your area, now you can leapfrog. You can go from third world to first world in no time. We've seen it in South Korea. We've seen it in Singapore. We've seen it in Abu Dhabi. We've seen all these places where the meetings were taking place in the Middle East. 50 years ago, you wouldn't have wanted even to travel there. Now they're some of the most expensive and desirable places on the planet. Well, but the bad news has to do with the unknown, the unknowable implications of all this change, with every futurist seeming to agree it will be amazing, but fraught with many, many potentially disastrous outcomes. In part two, we're going to take a look at the Trump impact, because the Trump impact happening at the same time, in the same era as we're seeing this other, is having, nobody can explain how Trump could be so on it, if you will, with regard to energy, with regard to AI, with regard to the reset that we need, with regard to the way that we do business around the world, with regard to the way we need to reset the US government for the future, with regard to the way that we need to potentially look at cryptocurrencies and things of that nature as a way of monetizing and doing business, of the way of coming up with not only balancing the budget, but getting ahead of the budget by coming up with a sovereign wealth fund and putting all of our land and our other natural resources and things that are owned by the U.S. government into a situation where they are producing for all of us in the future, and providing an underpinning for future wealth for the entire country, including the poorest among us. Then part three will be all about the Elon Musk effect. Elon Musk is in both of these realms. He's in the technological realm. He's now in the government realm, even though he's pulling back and feels that he really needs to focus his attention on the technological rather than on the governmental, because that's where he believes he can actually get it done. He believes that he can change the world through his companies, which is pretty obviously true. And then we'll also talk, though, about the fact that he brings a moral component to that. And people recognize this. People are talking about the fact that he brings this moral component. Think about that for a minute. And then finally, in part four, we'll give you the ironic conclusion, because I think there's some irony in all of this that bears looking into. And we'll pull all three parts together and we'll give you a look at the future that what do I think it looks like? What do I think we'll get to see in the next 10 years that will be quite futuristic and quite interesting and quite different? And then maybe not so much. And so we have part two of my series that I'm doing. There'll be four parts altogether. And on part one, it's not necessarily to watch them in order. If you want to, sure, go ahead. This morning I did part one, which kind of set the stage and talked about all the technological advances that are occurring like simultaneously. It's like a week or 10 days of craziness with regard to the tech that has been announced or the tech that is underway. Like, for instance, Robotaxi in just a couple of weeks. So much is coming together at one time that it just caused me to caused my head to almost burst. But it made me think about, where are we in this process of getting to a world of abundance? As I've been listening to literally dozens and dozens of podcasts by people like the All In Podcast, BG2, Peter Diamandis, and others, it's been clear that these people are to a one extremely excited about what's taking place, both from the standpoint of the technology that's happening, from the standpoint of Trump being in the White House and providing this kind of positive accelerator, if you will. We'll be talking about that in part two here. Most of them are almost, genuflecting at Elon Musk and the things that he's doing. It's like he's kind of like up here, everybody else is kind of here, and then there's Elon. So we'll talk about Elon third and what that really looks like, what that really means, how it really fits into this little kind of analysis that I've been doing. And what does it really mean for this year, next year, going into the future, 5 years from now? What will things look like? That'll be part four. And there'll be an ironic twist at the end of part four when you get there. So let's get on to part two right away. And again, you don't have to watch it in order. Yeah, it might be better to watch part one first, but you can go back and watch it later if you choose to just continue to watch this one. So Thomas Sowell was on a video last week, and he said that he's reversed his thinking regarding Trump's tariffs based on three important criteria. You see, Thomas Sowell has always been anti-tariff. I don't know if you know who Thomas Sowell is. I hope you do. Most conservatives recognize him as being probably the most, well, he and Laffer as being two of the most important economists of our age, if you will, coming after the Friedmans, et cetera, in the past. So Thomas Sowell, he's been anti-tariff. It's been his position. But he said, look, there are three things that caused him to change his mind. First of all, these tariffs are based on incentives. You see, this is the Trump doctrine in a nutshell. He is always laying out a potential negative outcome. That's the big bluster, I'm going to do this, I'll hit you if you don't. The chaos that I talked about 6 months before Trump even came into office. I said he'll repeat the chaos and then he'll reduce the chaos and everything will be okay. So he's lays out the potential negative outcome, but he always has a really good incentive for the other countries, whoever it is that he's negotiating with. If they come to the table in good faith, it's all going to work out great for everybody. And that's how he negotiates. He goes on to say, this is Sowell, goes on to say that the tariffs were targeted and thus they were not likely to result in a trade war. All of his worries about this turning into a Hoover-style trade war, kind of the fact that they were targeted, that helped him to, say, well, no, not so much. So even early in the Trump administration, when things were all chaotic, Sowell had come out specifically and said that he didn't like what he was seeing, but now he's turned it around. Number two, clarity. Again, this is Sowell talking about this. Clarity. Markets demand clarity. This administration is incomparable, in my opinion, when it comes to clarity about the outcomes that they are seeking. They also are super clear about their reasons they are attempting to achieve these outcomes. Why do they want it? Why does it matter to them? And then the steps that they're going to take to execute. This clarity as clarity improves, and as the results are being achieved, the markets have responded. So clarity is super important. And I think that everybody knows exactly what Trump wants. They know why he wants it, and they know how he intends to get it. So while markets tanked during the chaos period, just like they did in the first term, it is important to remember that the markets had risen dramatically after the election results were in, 20 points up after the election results were in. So as things stand today, the S&P that went down 20 is back up 20, actually is slightly ahead of where it was at the point that Trump was actually elected. And this was after an almost 10% run up in the prior 3 or 4 months. I think from August to November, it went up 10% prior to Trump being elected based on the anticipation that he would be elected. So we were really up 30 points because of Trump, down 20 because of the chaos, back up 20 to almost where we were on the day that he was elected, but we're still about 5% from all-time highs. That's not bad. If you invested last August, you are still way up. Number 3, test. This is again Sowell. Test, measure, and adjust. Sowell indicated that this is an important part of how he sees what leaders are supposed to do, especially if they are the kind of leaders that Trump is. He uses Roosevelt as another example of somebody who tested, who came up with an idea, put the idea out there, tested it, measured it, and then adjusted if it wasn't working. He indicates that Trump's willingness to change course as he goes gives him sole confidence in the plan. Of course, it is the willingness to take risks in the first place and do new ideas in order to make it necessary to test, measure, and adjust. So this is very, very important. All these things are important to Thomas Sowell, and he has changed his mind and is okay with the tariffs. Now look, in part 2 of this series, which is what I want to do right now, I want to take a look at the fateful election. Fateful, that's the important word here. Fateful election of Donald J. Trump to the presidency in this moment of potential. His ways of thinking will act as an accelerator to the technological list that I provided in part 1. It could have been very different. We could have been looking at a tax and spend and regulate kind of administration. We could have been hamstrung by DEI, ESG, and CRT. It could have been an administration that was anti-business, anti-manufacturing, and anti-energy. So why is Trump the right man for the job at the right time? Number 1, as noted in part 1 of the series, we are at the moment of monumental change in our ability to generate wealth, to bring upon the age of abundance. Cathie Wood believes that our average GDP increase in the near future will jump from the 3% average of the last 125 years to 7% per year or even more. However, in order to get there, we do have some ways that government can either help that or harm that, hold us back or accelerate us. And first among those would be to understand the impact of AI, energy, and America's need to actually build the future in the United States. So those are 3 things we're going to take a look at. There'll be about 8 or 9 that we'll look at. Those are 3 of them. Trump, first and foremost, is attempting to bring back a builder's spirit to the United States, whether that is in manufacturing, vehicles, dominating energy production, or being the world's leader in AI data centers. Now, while the Biden administration did pass bills that were favorable to specific kinds of energy and used government incentives to help with the electronics revolution, like a socialist government, it picked winners and losers. Trump is certainly more favorable towards oil, natural gas, nuclear, and even clean coal than he is regarding solar, wind, and batteries. And I think that's sad, and it might be something that he learns to love in the future. Hopefully he gets it in the future. But he's not specifically creating new subsidies for any of them. Instead, he's getting government out of the way and pushing all of the all above approach, so that we can maximize energy production as fast as possible. We need to do it fast, fast, fast. And he gets it. He gets it. That's the important part. He gets it, and that's what he's trying to accomplish. You see, he pitched America as the place to build fabs, chip factories, and data centers, but also cars, trucks, and electronics. He's paving the way for mining, refining, and the production of strategic materials. Biden wanted to spend taxpayer dollars to do this, taking money from the federal government, giving it to certain groups in order for them to build, build, build. But Trump wants the same result and more, way more than what Biden wanted, but he wants to generate external revenue service dollars from the tariffs that he's going to impose in order to give a level playing field to U.S. manufacturing. So a little bit of protectionism goes a long way. I've been saying this over and over and over again. I don't think most of you, if you haven't been in import-export, you haven't been in manufacturing, trying to decide whether or not to import rather than manufacture, you don't realize that sometimes a 5% or 10% difference is all it takes to go overseas. And it's only a 5 or 10% difference that it'll take to bring it back. Number two, during Biden, but even prior to Biden, those earning under $100,000 saw their real wages drop for the last 40 years. Those earning 100,000 or less now. 40 years ago, that 100,000 would have been like 60,000. But what I'm saying is those folks that are in that category have seen their real wages going down for 40 years plus. Only during the first 3 years of Trump 1.0 did they go up. And now he wants to reverse that tragic downturn that happened during Biden, because real wages among that group went down during the Biden years. During Biden, housing, manufacturing, trucking, durables, and small business were all in recession. If you watch my channel, you've heard me say that, I don't know, 1,000 times. Those 5 categories of the U.S. economy were in recession for the last 5 years, 4 years. I guess it's actually 3 years. It's a little over 3 years now. Meanwhile, government, healthcare, services, and very, very, very big business thrived. Trump is specifically intent on getting those other 5 parts of the economy back into the black. And by reducing regulations, lowering interest rates, lowering taxes, creating likely good economics in the future that are predictable, those should get us back on track on those 5 other categories. Number 3, Trump has selected a team of people who are all go-getters. They're not desk jockeys, paper pushers, or bureaucrats. They are all doers. Have you noticed that? These are doers, okay? They're out there doing. They're also business savvy. So they get that businesses, they understand, that's another way of saying it, the businesses that they are regulating. They're applying business principles to their own departments as well. And they are used to goal setting and execution. They also seem to be completely invested in Trump's vision and are willing to look to him for leadership of the overall plan. It's really amazing to see these entrepreneurs and these other people who have been in leadership all their life who are saying, I'm willing to let Trump lead. Because you see, number 4, Trump is a true leader. I've defined this on this channel. I can't tell you how many times, but the number one thing about a true leader is that they have a clear vision. More of a clear and well-defined vision than any president in my lifetime. That's Trump. He has articulated that vision with dozens of specific promises. Dozens. He has communicated that vision to all the stakeholders. That's another thing. The stakeholders have to understand the vision so they know what to do. And he has communicated that extremely well. I don't think there's any stakeholders, including his cabinet, the other direct reports to him, the Congress on both sides of the aisle, the people, the government suppliers, the employees of the government, or the members of the military, or even the foreign allies or enemies. I don't think anybody has any question about what Trump intends to accomplish, right down to the details. And now he has an entire team and 120 days. And now, I'm sorry, let me say that again. He now has had an entire term the word said team, and I said term. Anyway, he's had an entire first term and 120 days into a new term where people, all those folks that I just mentioned, all those stakeholders have seen that he makes promises and then he keeps them. He did it in his first 4 years. He's done it in his first 120 days. And when that happens, then it makes it an awful lot easier to go forward on your plans because everybody's either on board or not. I look at my X feed every single day and I see all these people that are not on board with what Trump is doing, but man, they sure know what he's doing. They know exactly what he's doing. Number 5, on the financial front, he has Bessent and others who in the cabinet and in his line of first reports who are definitely friendlier to small, local, and regional banks. They are helpful when it comes to M&A and IPOs. And they're obviously very interested in promoting stable coins and crypto. Stable coins, apparently by summer, we're going to be having a stable coin plan that will be in place. The eventual sovereign wealth fund is something I think will be a game changer. Just ask Alaskans. If you don't know what that means, look it up. Ask about how the Alaskan people get a check every single month. 5, he knew from his first 4 years that the dark state, the deep state, whatever you call them, and even the honest bureaucratic state were entrenched. They were slow moving, and they were held back by horrifically old and outdated automation. They were overstaffed and bloated and rife with waste, fraud, and abuse. He came into the new term with a team of people, including Musk and Doge, that quickly, amazingly, like a blitzkrieg, came in and took care of as much of that horrific mess as possible before the long tentacles of the entrenched could stop them. It was a huge success, in my opinion, and the effort's ongoing at a much less visible level, with many from the Doge team still installing new systems, eliminating processes, getting rid of regulations, and reducing manpower, contracts, all kinds of things that are unnecessary or that were counterproductive. Number 6, Trump truly hates war. And this is consistent from his first team. From day one, he has had a priority to end the war in the Ukraine and Gaza, and he doesn't much care whose feelings he has to hurt to get it done. That consistency is also likely to yield great results as his term continues. Countries like India and Pakistan that were getting ready to have a skirmish, all of a sudden, guess what? Not happening. Countries like that are going to think twice before acting while Trump is in office. Any of these countries that are thinking about attacking or playing games with any of our allies, I think they're going to think twice as well as they did during the last 3 years of Trump's time in office last time. Number 7, Trump has a very, very deep and broad understanding of world affairs. People underestimate him in this regard. He is managing the world of nations like one might manage a roomful of guests at an elegant ball. Again, he's the best. He's all time. In my lifetime of presidents, he has isolated Iran, is closing in on isolating Russia, and ultimately, he might only have North Korea as a rogue state that needs to be shut down. And this has happened in 120 days. The folks in Gaza, I'm sorry, when Russia if Russia and Ukraine get to peace, or when Russia and Ukraine get to peace, and I think they will, and when the folks in Gaza accept an international effort to rebuild something beautiful in their area instead of what they got now, Trump is likely to be able to convince even North Korea to join the international community, as he was, I think, very close to doing last time. But there was no follow-through from the next administration. Number 8, Trump has looked anti-Semitism square in the eye and said, absolutely, this is not going to happen on my watch. This sends a clear signal that no group in the U.S. can be subjected to what the pro-Hamas folks have done to Israel, or they will answer to Trump. Part 2 that I just concluded is not supposed to be a tribute to Trump, although it certainly can seem that way. Rather, it's my overview of this historic moment that the tech revolution is going to be accelerated by the actions noted above. The wealth effect of increasing productivity would likely happen under a lesser leader, But with the shackles of regulation removed, the pro-business attitude in place, lower taxes and government spending on the table, and peace through strength as the goal, abundance has a much greater chance of actually happening worldwide and to the least of God's children. So that thus endeth part two. And part three probably will be up tonight around 7:45. Part three will be about our buddy Elon Musk and how Elon Musk is contributing to this entire thing and why he is more than just the entrepreneur for the age. There's more to it than that. We'll talk about how he fits into the picture. Part four, which will probably be tomorrow morning, first thing. Part four, although news could, get in the way of that, but part four will probably be tomorrow morning. And that will be about what does this look like in the future? What is this going to look like a year from now? What is it going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And then what are some of the ironic potential outcomes of all of this? And I'll talk about that as well. All right. So let me know in the comments below what you thought about part two, part one. If you haven't seen part one yet, I will certainly put the card right here so you can go back and check that out. And then I really am interested in your thoughts and comments about what I've said. So I have no way of knowing whether you watched part one and part two, and it's not absolutely necessary that you watch them in order. But if you choose to go back and watch part one first from this morning early, or part two from the middle of the day, when I say the morning in the middle of the day, I'm talking about Hawaii time. But this is part three, and this will be it for today. And then part four will probably be first thing in the morning tomorrow, barring really big news. So I've been developing this thesis with you. I hope you've been following along. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. You could watch the other parts at the end of this if you feel so inclined. Maybe later I'll put all four parts together in one big final video. That might be another possibility. But let me just talk in terms of what kind of the thesis now after these two. So part one, of course, we got into the technological revolution, what's taking place with tech, especially what's happened in the last 10 days, which is kind of, in a way, kind of set us up for what is going to be crazy and happening over the next 18 months to 2 years, which is going to just be wild. So we're still in the early days of this technological revolution, and it's going to bring a massive age of abundance. And, that reality had just really hit me in the face. Maybe it didn't hit you in the face, but this last 2 weeks has been crazy. And then if you look at the futurists, if you look at the people like Cathie Wood, Tony Seba, Peter Diamandis, Elon Musk, etc., the B2G podcasters, the All In Pod, Jensen Huang, so many others. If you look at their faces and you look at their enthusiasm and you look at the way they're talking over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, I think they all are saying exactly what I'm saying. We are basically there. We are at the foundation. We're at the beginning. I mean, yes, it took a lot to get here, and a lot of the things like, OpenAI coming on board, DeepSeek, Tesla, coming up with electric cars 15, 20 years ago. I mean, all these things have been foundation blocks, but this last 2 weeks seems, I think, in the eyes of many, to have been really, really, really important and kind of the, I don't know, what would you call it? The moment of realization that it's all really going to happen. Well, the already dramatic revolution in tech and not just in tech, but in information, in material science, in medicine, in communications, on and on and on, in transportation. It's already going to create some amazing days in the future. But when you now layer on top of all of those the new capabilities in LLMs and in real world robotics, real world training of the neural net from end to end, the implications are epic, or as Elon might say, ridiculous. There are some amazing minds, some amazing leaders in tech that are making all of this possible. But we've now arrived at this point in time, primarily due to the work of one man. He has been joined on the world stage by a president of the United States who is singular in his capabilities and focus, besides having a business background, this president, and belief that business will create wealth, stability, and better life solutions if government would just get out of the way. Now, I spent part one talking about the past week or so. As I mentioned, part two, I looked at Trump and why he's the perfect president for tech and for all that's going to happen at this exact moment. But now we'll look at the man who I said above is the one who's basically created much of the tech that will advance us into the age of abundance, and the man who kind of straddles over both the political and also into a position of being over tech. We'll see. I'll develop that for you, and you can see whether you think I'm right or wrong. By the way, I'm definitely interested in your comments on this entire thesis that I've brought you today, and of course, the conclusions that I'm going to bring you in the morning. Anyway, I believe that we would still be moving forwards on much of this stuff, many of the things that are happening, even if Elon Musk and President Trump didn't exist, if there was no such thing. But the combination of their talents and hard work are ensuring, I think they're ensuring and accelerating an amazing future in the very near term, unless there's some kind of outlier catastrophe. I mean, we're talking about in the next 18 months, we're going to see absolutely astounding things. So number one, let's go down the list. Of course, you know I'd make a list. You know we're going to make a list. So number one, right now, the smart leaders in business and government all agree, energy is wealth. We can't do any of the other tech advances without energy. The discussion about whether it's going to be oil or coal or nuclear, and that maybe some of those things are doing harm to the environment, that's just over. Nobody's talking about it anymore. It's like, no, we got to do this first. Then maybe technology will take care of whatever damage we do to the planet, or if there's any damage, whatever. At this point, the argument's over. There's only a few fringe characters that are going to continue to object to the use of oil, natural gas, nuclear, etc. They're just going to be out there, but nothing's going to stop the governments of the world from moving full forward. They just can't afford not to provide all the energy necessary to power their country's future. So nope, it's that argument's over. Now, Musk has been at the bleeding edge of the energy future almost his entire adult life. He's almost single-handedly, I would say he has single-handedly created the entire BEV business, and that has spun off the hybrid business. This has disrupted the auto business to the point where most legacy auto companies are in a world of hurt and getting worse, and not one other BEV maker is actually making money off of BEVs. Additionally, Musk is making batteries, lots and lots of battery storage products, and he's massive amounts of batteries massive amounts of batteries from almost every lithium battery maker on Earth. It is very likely that Tesla will continue to be the number one player in BEVs, although those will largely be converted over to autonomous vehicles. He will lead by a long shot. We will lead as Tesla by a long shot on storage products. And we will likely end up second in the world on cell production, maybe eventually first in the world on cell production. Tesla, of course, is also refining their own lithium, and they might even get into mining. In addition, Tesla has numerous efforts in wholesale and retail areas of electricity business. So look, that could also be a situation downstream, which will get bigger and bigger and bigger as they get more involved in those kinds of businesses. When it comes to AI, number two, when it comes to AI, X is at the very forefront in every possible metric, competing head-on with Google, Anthropic, OpenAI, and DeepSeek on capabilities. You got others like Amazon and Apple that are, kind of in the background, not really, going to be in the foreground. It looks like X will be by far the leader. Grok 3.5 is already, again, head-on competing, and will likely probably be ahead. 3.5, when it's fully out there, will probably be ahead of everybody in most metrics. But Grok 4 is right around the corner. And this is probably where X will take an insurmountable lead due to what Brian Wong calls the sledgehammer of compute that's located in Memphis, and it's just going to get bigger. In addition, Tesla already has an insurmountable lead in real-world data being pumped into the world's largest, by a lot, data center for training real-world products. Almost everyone agrees. I mean, across the board, all these podcasts I watch, they almost all agree that the autonomous cars and humanoids will not be the only products that are going to come in, that are going to be real world products. And Elon has already teased that he probably has more products for Tesla forthcoming. Number three, I already spent a lot of time in part one, so you can go back and take a look at that. I spent a lot of time talking about SpaceX, Starship, and Starlink. But suffice it to say that it's inconceivable. There's not a chance that anyone will catch SpaceX in cost per kilogram to our orbit, or their ability to provide low latency, high bandwidth communications through Wi-Fi or cellular in this decade or the next. It's just not going to happen. Therefore, SpaceX also becomes the only wise choice for those services putting satellites into orbit as required by business, academia, or sovereign nations. Now, China wants to have their own capabilities and compete with Elon, but they're decades behind SpaceX, and there's no way in the world with Starship they're ever going to catch up, since Starship will eventually be putting things into space for 1/10 or even 1/100th of what they're able to do right now on Falcon, which is already 1/10 of what China's having to charge in order to put their stuff in space. Number four, Elon's reach through social media is on another planet, even another dimension. With 200 million followers on X, he has the ability to share an opinion, boost a product, or survey those millions any time of the day and night, which he does. And no one on earth is even close. And it's unlikely anybody's ever going to catch him in terms of the reach he has on X. I've talked many, many times about how important that reach is. As the owner of a company, I can't even imagine how great it is to have that kind of relationship with your clients, with your customers, your end users. Number five, Elon has relationships with the top government and business leaders all over the world. They all will pick up the phone if he calls. I think there's no one else in his league with that amount of power in that regard. Any business leader. Now, there are some, there's a few. I don't know whether Newsom would pick up the phone if Elon called, but probably. I don't know whether some of the Democrats in Congress right now would pick up the phone if he called, but maybe. I think for the most part, anybody that he wants to talk to will pick up the phone. I don't have that power. You have that power? Do you know anybody else that has that much capability to get in touch with the people who might be able to help Elon or who he may think he needs to help? Number six, more specifically, Trump is best bros with the POTUS, with the president of the United States, and is on a first name basis with the entire Trump cabinet. Okay, name me one other industry leader in that position. Do you think Jensen Huang is best friends with the president of the United States? Do you think Jensen is on a first name basis with all the cabinet members? Well, do you think Mary Barra is? Do you think there's another industry leader who has anywhere close to that much access? Number seven, Trump is one of a few handfuls. There's a few handfuls of individuals in the world who can write a check that will make a massive difference in any political battle. So like that or hate that in terms of how you see the way that oligarchs or wealthy people should or shouldn't be able to control elections or impact elections. We could have an hour-long conversation about that if you like, but the truth is he does have that power. The rest of the tech world looks on. Believe me, I listen to these other tech guys. They look on in awe. All of them, all of these guys know so many smart science. They themselves, the ones that are on these podcasts and whatnot, they're super, super smart. I'm impressed. And these guys employ or know all these other guys who are so smart, super smart engineers. But when my kids were in Little League baseball, they had this saying about the guy that could throw the 90-mile-per-hour fastball when he was only 14 years old. They called him a freak. He was on another level. Shouldn't have even been in the little league. Should have already been on a semi-pro team or something. But he's too young. Well, Elon Musk is that. He in the industry, he's just a freak, and they all respect him. They all appreciate him. I very rarely hear anybody in the tech world saying anything negative about Elon. Well, the result is that almost any entrepreneur who has an idea wants to get a meeting with Elon Musk. Almost any small company, when I say small company, 20, 50, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 employees, almost any of these guys would see a merger with Tesla or another Musk company as the perfect exit for their company and also for the perfect job in the future. And this becomes even more interesting because he just rarely does any of those deals. Okay, here's the story. You might have known everything that I just said above, and you likely know my following point as well. But this is the key. Musk is humble and has enormous character. That's right. He's humble and he has enormous character. Now, you've heard me say this before. If you watch my channel, the humility thing, okay, humility to me is knowing what you're good at, knowing what you're not good at, knowing what you know, knowing what you don't know, and sometimes not even knowing what you don't know, not knowing what you don't know. If you're humble, you know all those things. And so you're prepared to go out and ask for help when you don't know. You're not afraid to ask for help. You're not afraid to be told that you're wrong. You're not afraid to deal with the situation when there's a lot of differences of opinion and your opinion doesn't win. That's humility to me. And this is apparently true for Trump and Musk, that both of them are always asking people, and not just the cabinet member, but the person on the line. Trump goes down, if he's got a problem, he goes down to the line and talks to the guy on the line about what the solution is. They say, okay, Elon is, okay, so maybe he's humble, but enormous character? Well, he has all these baby mamas and like 14 kids from all these baby mamas. That doesn't seem like much character to me. And hey, he isn't a Christian, although he says it's his plan. It's his approach in life is to live like a Christian. He understands, he's read the Bible, and he understands what that means to act like a Christian, and that's what he intends to do. And many people think that he's a liar, but most of the time that people say he's lying, it's because he has projected or predicted something he thought was going to be true. And when you predict that you're going to have full self-driving in 3 weeks or 5 weeks or a month, and it doesn't come true, you're not lying. You're just missing your prediction. But that's not my definition of a lie. Now, if you absolutely know that it won't happen, that's a lie. But if you think it's going to happen and then it doesn't, that's just a missed prediction. This is what I believe to be true. Number one, Elon Musk believes that he has a personal responsibility to use his gifts to help humankind. How many people do you know like that? He thinks it's important for him to leave the earth better than he found it. He thinks it's important to help humankind. He uses gifts to help humankind, even to the point that he wants to provide an escape hatch if things go badly on earth. Number two, he is super quick to do actual good when he sees a chance to do so. So I don't know. Again, I'm not picking on you. I'm not picking on anybody in the audience, but lots of people who have the ability to do good, they see that there's something that they can contribute to or that they can participate in. They don't do it. I've complained about this with the Democrats my entire life. The Democrats rarely give anything to charity. And if they do, it's like 1% of their income. It's just ridiculous. They're talking about how all these people are hurting out there and they're living in 3 houses and they don't give anything to charity. But Elon, he sees the opportunity to do good and he does it. And number three, he doesn't live in 3 houses. He did for a minute, but he sold all those houses. And now he lives very simply. Yeah, he has a jet, but that's because he's got to be a whole bunch of places in a whole bunch of different times. But he lives simply in his life. He believes in freedom of speech so much that he spent $44 billion to ensure that there was a platform that offered that freedom. Again, I'll just pick on myself. If somebody came to me and say, Randy, I need $1,000 right now to make sure that freedom of speech continues. I go, ooh, now what if they said I need $100,000 to make sure that, oh man, oh, Randy, I need you to go out there. I need you to give your life on the battlefield in order to make sure. Elon Musk said, no, this is super important to me. I'm going to spend $44 billion. Now, you can say, well, he had $400 billion or $300 billion. So what's $44 billion to him? It's $44 billion. So I think that's character. Number 4, it is likely that his character is providing leadership right now that is causing many in the Silicon Valley to get red-pilled. People are looking up to Elon. They're looking what he's saying. They're looking at what he's doing. They're looking at his actions. They're looking at his words. And they're saying, yeah, I think I should be in that other team. Number five, and that's true for, again, the All In podcast guys for the B2G. So many of these guys were Democrats and they've pulled over to the other side now. Number five, he believes that AI has to be truthful and do the right thing. He believes that there needs to be guardrails to keep it from being used to promulgate lies or to do harmful things or to create harmful thinking among the population. He says this over and over. Now, there's others in the community that will go, I agree with Elon in this, but I haven't seen one other person stand up and go, I think that AI has to be truthful. They say, I agree with Elon. It's not quite the same as standing up and saying, I believe that AI has to be truthful. Number six, he can own anything he wants to own and owns very little. He obviously doesn't need to work, 100% doesn't need to work or take any risks, but he takes massive risks and he works crazy hours in order to fulfill his life purpose as he sees it. There are very few humans who have ever lived who take this path in the way that he does. It is very, very inspiring. But you know who the other person who does this is? Oh, yeah, POTUS, the President of the United States. Doesn't have to work, certainly doesn't have to be President of the United States, doesn't have to take the risks, doesn't have to put his life in danger. And yet, what is he doing? He's taking those risks because he believes that this is his responsibility. And so there's two. They have this in common. You won't find many others like that. 7, he does all this even though arguably the majority of those who are paying attention hate him and even wish him harm. Not the majority, but many wish him harm. But he keeps on going, even with that hanging over him. He says, they hate me, but I'm still going to do what I believe is my responsibility to do. This is his character to me. Number 8, he suffers from debilitating depression, but he keeps on going because he believes that this is what he's supposed to do. Number 9, you who are listening have likely become more wealthy and are living better today because of Elon Musk. I know I am. How many people can you say that about? How many? Come on, start listing the people that have contributed so much to your life that you can point to and say, this is wealth that I got because I follow this person or because I listen to this person. How many people? And there's a gigantic chance that if you're listening to this channel right now, a year from now, the majority of your wealth might be due to the fact that you followed Elon Musk. Okay, sure. I hold Elon Musk up on a pedestal in a way that I don't hold Trump. Okay? But they aren't as different as you think. As I said a minute ago, Trump doesn't have to work. He still does. He's hated. He still continues to work. He has been shot at and he continues to do the job. All of this because he believes that this is his responsibility. So these two individuals, to me, are remarkable. And it's remarkable that they're existing at the same time in the United States of America at a time where the United States of America has a chance to lead the world into this abundance, into this amazing wealth. And they are a big piece of the catalysts that are going to help to make that happen. But now that's the end of part 3. There's 2 men sitting astride a remarkable time in history, both contributing to the future that is probably going to be amazing. But maybe all this wealth and abundance won't be so great. I will dive tomorrow morning, probably tomorrow morning, I will dive into this future in part 4. I will talk about the positives, the negatives. I'm not going to spend like an hour and a half because you could spend a day. I could probably spend 8 hours talking about all the future possibilities, all the permutations, all the variations, all the likelihoods, the unlikelihoods, and the things that are positive that could happen, the things that are negative that could happen. I mean, you could just go on and on and on about this. I'm not. I'm going to narrow it down. I'll probably have a list. And I'll just give you my theory about what things look like a year from now, a decade from now, etc. And then I'll end with an ironic conclusion. So come back tomorrow morning, hit notify so that you can make that happen. It's always good to subscribe, and it'd be lovely if you'd hit the like button. And then if you haven't seen part 1 and part 2, right there are the cards for both part 1 and part 2. So far, I would say that the number of people watching the videos today has not been what I would have hoped. Maybe it'll get better as people watch part three and then go back and watch the other two. Maybe it's just a little too esoteric. A lot of people hate the future. They don't want to know about the future. Maybe people are looking and going, "Oh, I already know everything Randy's going to say," or who knows? And maybe it's just because it's a Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. But I'm hoping that more and more of you will watch it because I'd love to get your comments and thoughts about this. I think it's really, really important to our overall investment thesis and to the way that we see what's going to be developing over these next years. The future is notoriously very, very difficult to predict, but because of the incredible changes that we have discussed in parts 1 through 3 of this series, the job is much harder to do than usual. I'm 100% sure of one thing, that a great deal of what I described in this post, will turn out to be laughable 10 or 20 years from now. However, that is true for hundreds of famous prognosticators of the past who are now eating their words. Al Gore comes to mind. It would take me more than a book to fully build out a future world, even one as close as 10 years from now. So in this exercise today, I'm just going to pick a few of my favorites that are going to be impacted by Tesla, Elon, etc., continuing on the theme of this series. I'll take a look at the good, the bad, and finally, the ironic. The autonomous vehicle journey over the next 10 years will be filled with opportunities for sociologists and cultural anthropologists to try and understand the human behavior changes as we disrupt the number one job in the world. That's the job of driver. And then we'll also be eliminated a significant part of the daily life of almost every adult, driving. However, the payoff will be too huge to pass up, as the costs associated with transporting humans and goods will create a massive wealth effect for all of humanity. As one podcaster said the other day, when will I be able to send my kids to practice in a cybercab? Slowly, but surely. I know this is like becoming a stupid thing that I'm going to hate to say ever again. Slowly, but surely, and then all at once. Only a few hobbyists and individuals or companies with very special use cases will have cars or trucks that don't drive themselves. And even those are very likely, if they're used in business cases, they're very likely to be driven by robots. At the time of this writing, even the armed forces, not only even, but actually for years now, the armed forces are working to automate every single vehicle in their fleet, those that drive, those that fly, those that go underwater or over water. They're attempting to change every one of those into autonomous for very obvious reasons. So think about a future with no accidents, lawyers with no accident cases, insurance companies boarded up, and garages converted to man caves, playrooms, saunas, or craft paradises. Think about parking lots and garages and even parking meters all gone. New car showrooms will be not a thing anymore. And one of the largest advertising revenue sources will be gone. Taking a quick sidebar, think about this. There's a likelihood that pharmaceutical advertising will also stop. So how will this impact content creation at the most expensive level? The TV shows and other things that, make up most of what we entertain ourselves with today. Well, given that in many ways AI is now dramatically reducing the cost of high quality content creation, we might see way more very good content and be able to enjoy it at a very low cost, meaning low subscription rates for non-commercial entertainment. Sounds like a great future to me. Well, given the end of the need for parking in downtown commercial neighborhoods, the best city managers will come up with ways to beautify cities in ways never thought possible. In residential neighborhoods, the nightmare of finding parking will go away. Because of electric cars, the particulate and noise pollution will be dramatically reduced, along with CO2 for those who are worried about that. because transportation of goods and food products and all of the precursors of those goods and food products, meaning the fertilizer, the seed, everything that you can the raw materials in manufacturing, all of those things that are transported currently by trucks and trains, etc. The cost of transporting the precursors as well as the finished goods will all be a fraction of what they cost today because the transportation costs will be so low. Meanwhile, at some point in that 10 years, that next 10 years, the cost of power will finally drop to near zero. Yes, I know right now our worry is that we don't have enough power. How will we possibly power all these data centers? But what I'm telling you is that 10 years from now, we will have overbuilt. And through nuclear and solar combined with batteries, the cost of electricity will finally be too cheap to meter, as was first promised by Richard Nixon regarding nuclear. Now we will actually have it become a reality. Assuming no massive new need for power that we can't anticipate today, fossil fuels will begin to go away along with all that infrastructure. Yeah, I don't think it'll go away much at all during that 10 years. In fact, we may need more and more and more of it. But somewhere in that 10 years, or beginning around 10 years from now, I think we will get to the peak of the requirement for oil, natural gas, etc., and it will begin to diminish. Well, your home, of course, will switch to all electric as the cost will be far lower than natural gas, and your electricity will come from a distributed source, such as an SMR, a small modular reactor that will be buried in the ground somewhere in your neighborhood, or some local solar battery installation. The national grid will no longer be needed. Now, again, the national grid's not going to go away in the next 10 years, but somewhere around there, I think you'll begin to see the power lines beginning to come down. Well, you might see a pattern here, and I could provide you with many, many more examples of where your cost of living is going to plummet, which, assuming that your earnings stay the same, your wealth will materially increase. But this increase will be most notable among the poorest in the United States and around the world, as entire countries will leapfrog 100 years of infrastructure costs that the current wealthy nations needed to do to get to modernity. They won't have to do it. Kind of like the cell phone or the smartphone has eliminated the need for so much infrastructure that we had in the past in order to get the things that people now get with a simple cell phone. In previous videos, I have listed many of the jobs that I believe will replace those that will disappear. Just to be complete, I'll list a few of those again real quick. I'm not going to go into the details I have in the past. You can find these earlier videos. Number one, content creators and producers. I think this will be a huge job for the future. Number two, influencers like me, which is kind of like a content creator. Influencers will become a bigger and bigger thing. Online educators, as schools and universities become a thing of the past. Number four, owners of robots and other means of production. You will be an owner. That will be one of the ways you can make money is you own the robot, you own the self-driving car, you own other means of production, and that will be a way for you to make money. Number five, vacation anything. Resort builders, cruise ship builders, and people that guides, adventure planners, skill set producers, coaches, everything like that. Those jobs will become bigger and bigger. I think number seven, scientists and engineers. I believe that will be a growing category. Believe it or not, even with all of AI, I think you're gonna need that actual scientist or engineer that works with AI to get the very best. Number eight, artists of every kind. Think about any kind of art, any kind of art skill, singing. I mean, all the arts, I believe, where people will be looking for a bespoke work by humans. And number nine, actually, maybe one of the biggest categories of all will be athletes, gamers, and performers as we look to watch actual humans do things in the future more than we even do today. Well, okay, there's downsides to all the wealth that I've just been talking about. The biggest will be boredom, also a striving for purpose or meaning, a need for something extremely stimulating so that you can feel alive. So another job or profession that will thrive will be those who can provide anything along those lines. Spiritual leaders, sociologists, maybe even psychologists, even though I know Grok is getting really, really good as a psychologist. It may be that those who are tender and emotionally helpful may be in demand in the future, but what will be in demand will be things that do help us to be entertained or feel real, okay, as they say, feel real. So as I'm writing this, I realized that I could actually do 2 hours, maybe 5 hours, maybe 10 hours on my futuristic predictions if I were so inclined, but you wouldn't hang around for all that time to listen. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to provide you with that ironic ending that I promised you. You see, my wife and I have ended up watching every single movie directed by the best movie director of all time, Alfred Hitchcock. His first movies were made in the 20s. I think the first one was 26, and they continued all the way up until the 70s, the mid 70s. I think last one, 1976. Now, we had this one takeaway from watching all those 80 movies like in 80 days, like 80 movies in 80 days. It was probably a little more than that. But there was what we realized was the fundamentals of life hadn't changed that much. The 20s didn't look all that much different from 2020, whatever we were when we were watching this. We still needed a certain amount of shelter, 3 bedrooms and 2 baths is a lot. It's really good. You really don't need more than that unless you've got 5 kids or something. All the rest is extraneous. We require a certain amount of shelter, a certain amount of food, a certain amount of transportation, a certain amount of entertainment. We need a job or other source of meeting. We need our family, our friends, and our associates. And that doesn't change that much. You look at the homes from the 20s, they don't look that much different. The cars from the 20s don't look that much different. The cars of the future might look a little different, and the main thing will be they won't need a driver, but you'll still need to be transported around. And then on the other side of the coin, no matter how smart or sophisticated that we think we are, boy, do we think we're smart and sophisticated today. I mean, we are just brilliant. We're going to solve all the problems of the world. You know what? With all of that, we keep hurting one another. We do stupid stuff that messes up our lives. We do horrible things to one another. And the stuff that we do spills into the lives of other people. And of course, it turns into really good fiction. We are selfish and grasping, and I don't think that's going to go away just because we have plenty, just because we have all this wealth. I think we'll still be selfish and grasping. We'll be selfish and grasping because how do we get that ticket to the concert that we really want to see? Because there's a limited number of people that can fit in that stadium. Yet these same poor souls are the same people I'm talking about that are grasping and selfish and do horrible things to one another are often beautiful and sacrificial and amazing the following day or week or month or year. I'm almost 100% sure of this prediction. In 2050, folks will look back 25 or 50 or 100 years and they will see that as much as things have radically changed, most of it has pretty much stayed the same. All right, this is Randy Kirk. If you liked any of this series that I did, please like, subscribe, etc. Later today, we will have Larry Goldberg as always, Brian White. Around 5 o'clock for Larry, probably 7:45 for Brian White. Might want to go back and look at 1, 2, 3 of this series where I set up what I did today. I'll put all 3 of those cards right up there in case you want to go ahead and do that. I think that's all I've got for you, unless you would like to, join Patreon. That's always something that helps out the cause. I think that's all I've got for today. It's been great talking to you.